Hello everybody, and today I'm going to talk about one issue I have with, Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies, uh, and its plotline, that is, the Dark Age of the Law. Here's one problem. They treat it like a recent event caused by primarily Phoenix Wright forging evidence and Simon Blacktrill going to jail for murder. And here's my main issue with that. One, Phoenix Wright becomes infamous without really being famous. You never really see, for some reason, like, for some reason, the Wright Editing Agency doesn't make a ton of money. We know that because in the next game, Spirit of Justice, they do not have enough money to pay a $3 million debt. So yeah, there's that. So they can't pay that money at all, apparently. And then, okay, let's cut back to it, okay? So, Phoenix Wright is, okay, so after he is accused of forging evidence, people don't like him anymore. And that is part of something that started the Dark Age of the Law. And, like, here's my idea about that. It's confusing, right? Because, like, we don't really hear anybody say that Phoenix is, like, a pillar of the legal world. We never hear anybody say that. And suddenly, like, we only see that he is a pillar of the legal world after he falls. It's like the games don't want to give us the satisfaction before taking it away. You know how satisfying it would be if we, imagine if by the end of the Phoenix Wright Trilogy, imagine this, we were, like, really famous. Like, we got a whole bunch of clientele, we're taking out on trial by the handful, we're doing a lot of work. And then we cut to the next game, all of that is gone. You know the emotional impact that would have? Because, like, you look at Apollo Justice right now, and, like, all that really happened was that, like, a small law firm, like, got turned into a small talent agency. That's not a lot of change, honestly. Especially since we don't hear anybody calling, well, I mean, I guess there's the piano set. There's the piano set, I guess, and then there's the magic stuff. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like the trials would pay more. So, I get why they couldn't do that. Phoenix Wright had lost his badge by that point. But my point is that, like, if the Phoenix Wright trilogy had ended off on, like, a famous note, it would have more impact later on. Of course, the issue with that is the fact that in real life, the plot of Apollo Justice wasn't written until the Phoenix Wright trilogy had already ended. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so we did that, we covered that, put it in the box, okay? So, next plot point, I'm going to talk about Simon Blacktrill. He is the main prosecutor of Dual Destinies, and he is a convicted murderer. I'm gonna tell you the spoiler. It turns out he didn't do it. Yeah, so there you go. I ruined it. Okay, but here's my issue with that, right? Okay, remember earlier when I said that the dark age of the Yaw was ushered in by Phoenix Wright and Simon Blacktrail? The two people basically opened the floodgates of disbelief in the tort system. My issue is that we don't really see that. I mean, okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, first of all, for Simon Blacktrail, my issue is that why does he matter? Okay, he's a master of psychology, but was he a good I mean, I assume that he was a great prosecutor. That's the only way he would matter so much to the legal world. But the problem is, I don't feel that way. The game never really sets up how much of a good prosecutor he was before. Before. And I mean, to be honest, to be fair, he does seem like the okay prosecutor. He seems fine at it. He doesn't murder anybody for real. He doesn't forge evidence. I don't believe he ever tries to hide witness testimony. The only really big thing he does is prevent Apollo Justice from using his perception ability, which would help. But that's cheating apparently. Okay. So as far as we know, he seems like the most one of the honest prosecutors, Clavier and Edgeworth after he redeems himself. But here's another thing. He's also a master of psychology and seems to manipulate people. And I don't know where that could have come from. As far as I know, he had that trait way before he ever went to jail. So was he a good guy? Were all the defendants of those cases he prosecuted really guilty? I have to assume that maybe they were. But is it using psychology kind of a dirty trick? Why do you need to frame your argument behind this layer of manipulating opinions when the truth should be the only thing that matters? Because the only real person you have to convince is the judge. And why would a prosecutor need to mentally manipulate somebody? Because as far as we know, the judge, as impartial as he is, seemed to always side with the prosecution. So yeah. So it's not Blacktrail somehow has a disadvantage here. He seems just fine. But if he's looking really for the truth, why does he have to use psychology on the judge? He uses it on the judge too. He uses it on practically everybody. And okay, maybe I don't have the best memory, but I don't know, I have memories of him manipulating people into saying stuff. I mean, I guess okay, to be honest, manipulation isn't as bad as forging evidence or lying to the court. Still, okay. There's a truth I'm looking for. if you are right, why lie? Now, he didn't really lie, but he does feel the need to, change his argument to make, to do stuff to the judge, to us. So yeah, that's my opinion on Simon. Main issue with him though, not really his psychology stuff. That's okay. It's fine. But main issue with it to me, we don't see how famous he is. Apollo Justice didn't even know who he was. We never hear anything about him until the second taste of the game. The second taste of Dual Destinies, we hear about him. And that makes sense, When you're writing something in order, you can't really set up in the past what you're doing, what you're planning in the future. You can't go back in time and, retcon it in real life. The best thing to do is, try to fill in the holes. Now, I'm pretty sure that Phoenix Wright and, what's his name, Simon, were prosecutors and defense at the same time. So, yeah. I think they're about the same age. But, yeah. So, they existed around the same time, okay? But we don't hear anything about him from Apollo Justice, I believe, nothing, So somehow, what is it? What am I trying to say here? Somehow, Apollo Justice knew all about Phoenix Wright and a bunch of his cases, but he didn't know about Simon, even though he's one of the famous two people who ushered in the dark age of the law. That seems a bit far-fetched, because as far as I know, it's not just that, Apollo, just, doesn't have a lot of information. If I'm remembering right, he didn't even have a vague recollection of the name. So yeah. So apparently, he isn't that famous. The only person in that room who recognizes him, there's only 3 people in that room. Apollo Justice, Goodman. No, not Goodman. Why did I say Goodman? What's his name? It's the detective. Basically, there's only Apollo, the detective, and Athena. But Athena knows him because of their personal connection, not because of how famous he is. So yeah. Okay. If we had a flashback to him, I'm not getting a whole taste where Simon is the prosecutor. I'm just asking for a 1 to 2 or maybe 5 pictures of a trial where he's and that's why your client is guilty. And then the defendant has a breakdown and everybody is cheering for Simon Blacktrill. If we had one of those, that would be really good. We would get to see how he's a good prosecutor. And Dual Destinies is the first game to use cutscenes and use videos and kind of in anime kind of videos. But for some reason, we never have one of Simon in his prime. None. So yeah, those are my two issues. One, Phoenix Wright gets notoriety for being a bad person, but we never get to see, not being a bad person. He becomes infamous without us being famous. And two, Simon Blackwell is just like, we do not know enough about him to say that he's like a reason for the dark age of the law. And here's another thing about that plot line. We do not mention any of the other characters. Like, none of them. Like, any character who isn't in the game, like, Dual Destinies, is not brought up. We don't hear anything about any corrupt prosecutor. Miles Edgeworth is there, but he never really brought up, and he was the demon prosecutor at one point. I don't know if you guys remember this, but he was literally called the demon prosecutor in the first game, the second case. And like, that's just all forgotten now. I get it, he's a better person now, but like, I don't know, that could have been like, feeling right to have said, looking back on it now, maybe those newspapers were the start of the end. Or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a writer. But anyway, what do I have to say? Okay. So we don't hear anything about Edgeworth. After that, we have we have Winston Payne. Well, technically, he came first, but like, Winston Payne is like, as far as we know, he's an honest prosecutor. Like, as far as we know, he doesn't forge evidence. He doesn't use any especially dirty tactics. He's fine. So yeah. So Winston Payne, he's good. Molly Edgeworth, he got better. Net prosecutor, Von Tarma, and he was literally awful. He was evil. Not evil. Evil doesn't exist. Evil depends on the circumstances of your time period. But yeah, he murdered somebody and then took the person's child and raised him as his own and then tried to ruin him and make him go to jail for the crime that Von Parma committed. So pretty evil, alright. But yeah. So she goes to jail, and she's a prosecutor. So that's a big deal, right? Like, if Miles Edgeworth being called the demon prosecutor is like people not trusting a prosecutor, if that is a light tap on the glass, then like Von Tarma being a murderer, that is like a full fist banging on that door hard as hell. Okay? That is another corrupt prosecutor, not just that, but one who has won the Team of Prosecutors award like many times over, I believe. So yeah. So like, he was a pillar, I'm pretty sure, of the community. Of the legal world. He was there for 40 years. 40 years. That's a lot. And like, he never took a break. So that means that probably almost every 3 days, he would prosecute somebody. And with how good he claims to be, it's possible that all his trials end at 2 days, not even a day to the third one. So it's possible that he had condemned a ton of people. I'm gonna do the math right now. Keep in mind that I have no evidence to back this up. All I know for certain is that he was a prosecutor for 40 years. That's all I know. Let me put in 40, okay. 40 divided by 2. Oh, well, that's only 20 defendants. That doesn't seem like a high number, does it? Well, that's only 13 defendants. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, I'm dumb. I'm not doing it right. 40 years isn't 40 days. So let me put 40 years turned into days. Okay. Okay, here we are. Now that we have done that, I'm gonna put that into my calculator. Okay. And now divide by 2. This is how many people he probably got declared guilty. And if it's not that, if he does 3 days, that's a lot. Yeah, that is 4 digits of people. He has ruined the lives of, what is it, thousands of people. Or just say, at least 1,000 people. Because he doesn't take breaks. I don't know if that means he has weekends off. I'm not gonna do the math more to figure out oh, if he takes weekends off, it's this many. But anyway, if we assume those numbers are accurate, the eagle whale has been punched in the face so hard it has passed out for several minutes. That is Von Parma. Okay, after Von Parma is done, we move on to Justice for All, the second title. And it is pretty good, honestly. Yeah, it's been pretty fine overall. Yeah, really, the only thing really is Winston Payne in the tutorial villain again, and he didn't really do anything bad either. Again. And then we move on to the main person, Francisca Von Parma. And she is, as the point death, the daughter of Manfred Von Parma. And apparently, nobody hates her, right? Nobody talks about it, but think about it. Let's say that you are a person in the Ace Attorney universe, and you have a brother, or a sister, or a mother, or a father, or a loved one, or a friend. And then they become a defendant in a murder case, or a lawsuit, or anything. It could be anything. I'm pretty sure that Manfred is probably a criminal, prosecutor. Doesn't matter. My point is, if you have Von Parma up against you, you're going to use. We have to assume that, we don't even have to assume. We know he has a perfect record before he meets us, the player. And then, that means that, let's say that family member or friend is declared guilty, and they are the death sentence. And if it's not the death sentence, it is life in prison. And after that, are you not going to hate him? You are gonna hate him because you know they're innocent. yeah. And then, like, let's say you meet his daughter, and she acts almost like him. Not completely like him, but almost. And she's over here. She's talking about the Von Parman name as if it's good. When literally just a year ago, it was proven that she's a cold-hearted murderer. Are you, that Ace Attorney person, are you not gonna be mad at her for, like, being this way? Or, like, the ideals and stuff? Is there something in there? No? Okay. But yeah, for some reason though, nobody seems to hold it against her. Like, everybody seems okay with her. They're not accusing her of forging evidence. And as far as I can tell, we never hear the general opinion of the public when it comes to Von Karma. I have to assume it's good because, like, nobody seemed to be, like, throwing rotten tomatoes at her all the time. So, yeah. But personally, Franny's just does okay. So she doesn't really do anything illegal. She does use, like, kind of messed up practices. Like, that one time she presented evidence without putting it in the court record. But to be honest, she didn't lie. That is the truth. Like, that picture was real. It wasn't edited. It wasn't fake. So all she really did is reveal the truth. That's kind of just what Phoenix does. And she does try to, like, get a witness not to reveal a part of a testimony. It was the part where Mo says that, like, oh, the defendant flew into the air to escape. And to be honest, like, I'm pretty sure her reason was literally that, no, that didn't happen. That's unbelievable. Nobody is gonna believe you. And then you are gonna be not a good witness for me. So as far as we knew, like, she didn't reveal that because she thought it was a worthless testimony that would be detrimental to her case and her witness, which isn't illegal. I'm pretty sure it isn't. So yeah. So overall, like, Flannery does a fine prosecutor, I guess. After that, we go on to the game Trials and Tribulations, which has Winston Payne again. And Winston Payne is younger because it's the flashback case. So yeah, it's the flashback case. So yeah, the flashback case. It's pretty good, right? And we find out that Winston Payne was once known as the Rookie Killer. Because, like, apparently he was, like, so good at his job or something. We don't really see any of that anymore. And to be honest, he doesn't even... Is he better at his job back then? Because, like, from a writing standpoint, you should make Winston be better at his job. Like, make him a more challenging, like, tutorial villain. Like, I'm not saying he had to be Von Karma. I'm just saying that he should be good. Because, as far as we know, he has a win record in the double digits. At least 10 years of, like, victories. So I have to assume he's pretty good. I don't remember if we see any of that goodness. But yeah. After that, after Winston Payne uses the Miyase, we move on to case 2. And then we meet him. We meet Dodo, or Dodo. Whichever spelling you want to use it. Okay? Well, not spelling, pronunciation. Whichever one you want to use is okay. And I'm gonna spoil everything here. He is actually Mia's boyfriend, who was a defense attorney, but got poisoned. When he woke up, he found out that Mia died, and then he decided to become a prosecutor because he doesn't like us, because he blames us for her death. So yeah, there's all that. Overall, he didn't really do anything illegal. He is a defense attorney. You know all about that, They did die. He does have a couple cool methods. I'm pretty sure it is I believe it's his first appearance. He decides to trick us by basically the way we win the trial is by saying that our defendant was in an area instead of another area. Okay, and this is the first defendant who isn't accused of murder. He's accused of theft or larceny or whatever term is right. He is accused of stealing treasure. And the way we defend him is by saying that instead of stealing at the time, he was in somebody's office at the time. And we win that first trial, but guess what? There's a twist. It turns out that a murder happened in that very office. And so we have made the basis for our last victory turns out to be us digging our own grave in the second trial. And Godot uses that because he had this all planned out. If he wasn't gonna win the theft trial, he was going to win the murder trial. And that is really smart thinking on his part. Really good. So yeah, he's pretty good. He's not a good prosecutor because he isn't one. So yeah. As a prosecutor, he doesn't do anything bad. He pretty much just plays by the rules and demands we show evidence. Which doesn't really make sense because the burden of proof is always on the one saying something. Innocent until proven guilty and all that. But after him, we move on to Apollo Justice. Oh, but Godot did murder somebody. It could be argued that he did it because the person who he murdered was a murderer. But yeah, no. The point is that in the eyes of the game, they don't really treat him like he's a bad person for doing that. They do treat him as morally gray though. But anyway, after that, we move on to Apollo Justice. And the first case in the tutorial. And in this game, we have Winston Payne as the prosecutor. And as the name probably suggests, we are not playing as Phoenix Wright in this case. We are playing as Apollo Justice. And we are a brand new defense attorney with our mentor, Christoph Davin. And that's what happened. Our defendant is Phoenix Wright, who is no longer a defense attorney because he was removed. And like that's the whole plot line of the game. Like, why was he removed and all that? But that's not the important part. But right now, the important part is the fact that our mentor, Tristan Gavin, turns out to be the real murderer in the first taste of the game. That's awesome. Like, that is an epic plot twist. The murderer of the first taste of the fourth game turns out to be our mentor. That would be like if in Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright, the first game, it turns out that Mia was a murderer. Like a plot twist, a massive one. The only thing that would have made it better if it was like, if Tristan Gavin didn't like act kind of weird, like, because like he does act a bit like annoyingly like pretentious. Like he's poetic and he does like this, like no, you're wrong. Like he does this, like he literally does that, like he does like the anime like rich person, you're dumb as hell. And like, okay, yo, as far as we know, like he is the first bad defense attorney we have met. Except for like Robert Hammond. I don't really know how I